welcome to episode 3 of 3 in this mini-series, You've Got This. This is a special series as we get ready to return back to school this September. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a young player who is taking the Premier League by storm. A 15-year-old who's been making headlines, getting all the big pundits talking and attracting attention all across the world. Yes, we're talking about a kid who's still at school, yet playing for Arsenal in the Premier League, the most glamorous league on earth. In this episode, we're going to be having a look at the journey so far of Max Dowman. Right then, 3 of 3, the final one in this You've Got This mini-series. And if you haven't listened to either of the other two yet, in this little mini-series, we're focusing on going back to school and some of the things you might be thinking about. So, before we get into this episode on the youngest player we've ever covered on the show before, Max Dowman, let's talk about something that really matters when you're starting a new school, a new class, or in a completely new area. Asking questions. Now, I know that some of you might feel nervous about putting your hand up. You might think, what if I look silly? Or what if a teacher gets annoyed or angry at me? But here's the truth. Teachers love it when you ask questions. If you do it in the right way and you're polite, it shows that you're trying. It shows that you care, and it helps them know how to support you. And it's not just about maths or spelling or reading or anything like that. If you need something, like asking to go to the toilet, if you need help finding your way, or even if you're just not sure which page it is you're meant to be on, ask. Don't sit there worrying. Teachers would much rather you say something than struggle in silence. Even if a teacher seems a little bit grumpy or a bit stricter than the others, I promise you, there is no way they want you to struggle. If you need the toilet, if you don't understand something, if you need help, ask politely. You will not get in trouble for it. Think about football for a second. If you're on the pitch and you need the ball, what do? You ask for it. If you're tired, you're hurt, you've injured yourself, you tell your coach. You don't just carry on pretending. The same goes in school. If you need the toilet, say it. If you're stuck, ask. If you're not sure what to do, speak up. And here's the clever bit. When you ask questions, you're not only helping yourselves, you're often helping others too. There will almost always be someone else thinking exactly the same thing as you, but they're far too shy to say it. By being brave enough to ask, you make the whole team, the whole class stronger. And remember this, every great player asked questions when they were young. Not only in football, but in school as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Bukayo Saka, Lionel Messi, Alexia Putellas, Chloe Kelly, none of them learned everything by magic. They learned by asking, by listening, and then growing. So don't ever feel embarrassed about asking for help. Whether it's about your work, needing the toilet, or just finding your way round. That is not a weakness. That is how you get stronger. So, be brave, call for the pass, put your hand up, and remember, you've got this. Right then, let's get into it, shall we? Let's dive into the journey and the story so far on the youngest player we've ever covered on the show. The Arsenal sensation, Max Dowman. Max Robert Dowman's story begins on the 31st of December 2009 in Chelmsford, Essex, England. Whilst most people think of New Year's Eve as fireworks and parties, for Max's family, it was a day a footballing spark was born. From the very start, Max had a ball at his feet and passion in his heart. He began playing in his local area and joined the youth setup at Billericay Town. Even as a tiny boy, he stood out. Coaches and teammates couldn't believe how skillful he was, darting past defenders and showing a touch that seemed far beyond his years. And then came a moment that changed everything. Arsenal scouts spotted him, and in May 2015, when Max was just 5 years old, he joined the Arsenal Academy. 5 years old, and Max was pulling on the shirt of one of the biggest clubs in England. His time at Billericay had given him a solid start, and his family and local coaches knew he had something special. Billericay Town later celebrated his rise proudly, pointing out how one of their colts had made it all the way to Arsenal. It was the beginning of a great adventure, a boy from Chelmsford with a dream, stepping into the famous red and white of Arsenal at an age where many kids hadn't even kicked the ball yet. Max Dowman's journey took him to Arsenal's famous Hale End Academy, the place where legends are made, surrounded by top coaches and world-class facilities. Max didn't look out of place for a second. Even though he was years younger than most of the players around him, he was doing some great stuff with a football. As he grew, something amazing kept happening. Max was asked to play with older age groups, sometimes several years above him. Imagine that, at 13 years old, he was playing for the Arsenal under-18s boys. An Arsenal under-18 coach and former Arsenal star Jack Wilshere later admitted that he was a bit worried about putting such a young kid in with the big boys, but then added a famous line to finish it off. If you're good enough, well, you're old enough. And for Max, his age never held him back. The record soon started to tumble. In the September of 2023, at only 13 years old, Max made his debut for the under-18s. A year later, he made history in Europe. On the 19th of September 2024, Max scored in a UEFA Youth League match against Atalanta, becoming the youngest goalscorer in the competition's history, breaking a record which was once held by Borussia Dortmund's Youssoufa Moukoko. And he didn't just score once in a while, he delivered in the big moments. In October 2024, Arsenal's under-18s went 2-0 down, but Max pulled one back before half-time and then, in the 97th minute, smashed home the winner for a 3-2 comeback. By the end of 2024, Max had already outgrown the under-18s. By the December, he'd made his debut for Arsenal's under-21s in Premier League 2, becoming the youngest ever to do so for the club. Max's rise was so quick that by late 2024, Arsenal's first-team coach were watching closely. Included the 14-year-old Max Dawson in his senior training sessions and even took him on a warm-weather training camp to Dubai. Arteta insisted that the club wouldn't be rushing him. But in May 2025, when Max was just 15, Arteta described him as a big talent. He praised the academy for guiding him carefully and said he is taking the right steps and taking them slowly. That will dictate how fast he goes. All of Max Dowman's hard work came together in the summer of 2025. Mikel Arteta decided it was time to give a teenager a taste of the big stage, taking him on Arsenal's pre-season tour. On the 23rd of July, just days after turning 15, Max made his unofficial first-team debut in a friendly against no other than AC Milan. But it was the next friendly against Newcastle United in Singapore where Max truly announced himself. Imagine it, a schoolboy facing seasoned Premier League players and showing no fear at all. He glided past defenders with Cruyff turns and mazy runs. His performances pre-season were so good that when the 25-26 Premier League season kicked off, Max was named on the bench. Then came his moment of history. On the 23rd of August 2025, Arsenal were leading Leeds United 4-0 at the Emirates Stadium when Mikel Arteta sent Max on. A 15-year-old, he became the second youngest player in Premier League history. The roar from the home crowd as Max stepped onto the pitch was deafening. Perhaps the loudest cheer of the whole night. And Max didn't just make the numbers up, he went straight at Leeds defenders, fearless as ever. In stoppage time, he danced into the box from the right wing and got Arsenal a penalty. A senior teammate scored, but the buzz was all about the schoolboy who had just lit up on his debut. Afterwards, the praise poured in. Mikel Arteta was astonished. And that's where we leave the Max Dowman story for now. From a little boy in Billericay to joining Arsenal at just 5 years old, to making his Premier League debut at 15 in front of a roaring Emirates crowd. Think about that for a second. 15 years old. He's probably not that much older than what you are. But here's the important part. None of that happened overnight. Max worked his socks off. He trained, he listened, he kept being brave enough to step up against players older, stronger and more experienced than him, and he never ever gave up. So if you're sitting there thinking about your dreams, whether it's football, school, music, art or whatever it is you're into, let Max's journey remind you, it doesn't matter where you start or how small you might feel. If you work hard, you stay true to yourself and you keep stepping forward, even when it's scary, you can achieve some incredible things. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.